Another quiet summer edition of Oilers Nation Radio. Welcome into the program. Tyler, Rick, Dan, Liam. No bagged milk. He went and saw Blink 182 last night.
Say
at
it
the
ain't
Dome.
so.
I will not go.
He did.
Turn those lights off. He did go.
Carry me home.
Is that Blink 182?
Was that at the Dome?
Yeah,
the
it's at
Sky
the
Dome?
That's
The Sky
crazy.
Dome.
Yes,
Toronto.
So
Wow.
here's some. That's also a Weezer song, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, it's not Blink 182.
Nailed it.
Damn it.
That's like that is the Office. Huey and the what is it when he gets him to play Huey Lewis and the crew? Yeah, and it's none of them.
I watched
all.
I watched a movie the other day. You guys know me, Letterboxd.
Yeah.
Liam Horban 96. Follow me.
Normal
Dumb
flex,
movies.
but let's go.
Liam Dumb movies. And it's called Turning Red. Have you guys seen it?
Haven't seen it. Isn't it a movie made for preteen girls who are about to hit puberty?
No, it's a Disney Pixar movie.
What's the theme
But
of it, though?
that's
the gist of
the
it, right?
loose.
Yeah, but it got
theming.
95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
And it's based in Toronto, and they go to the Sky Dome for a concert.
And
And
how
it's
did that-
literally called, because it's not, the Sky Dome is where the Blue Jays play, right?
Correct.
But it's not called the Sky Dome anymore.
Rogers.
But on the
Just
movie,
like every other hockey arena. In Canada.
yeah, they call it Sky Dome, which I thought was a cool little thing for all you baseball fans out there.
Depends. Maybe it was when it was filmed.
Quick,
How long ago did they
quick
change?
1 minute
when they
synopsis.
dropped
Go, Lee.
Sky Dome?
No, this was made like 5 years ago.
Turning Red was a 2022
Sky
movie.
Dome must have been dropped like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Oh,
It's been like 10,
15 years
10
ago.
15, I
so?
think. Yeah.
I don't remember being a Jays fan and having it called Sky Dome.
I'm trying to
Answer,
find
Liam?
out.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
God. I can't find it.
Whatever. There's nothing for us to talk
Wikipedia.
about. We have time for you to wait and Google it.
When did
They stopped using the
it
term
be
Sky Dome.
called?
Click Wikipedia, Liam. It's right going to be on the right hand side.
That'll
My
probably
God.
help.
Come on, give us this answer.
2005.
Yeah,
That is
It's
so-
almost 20
literally-
years.
since it's been called Sky Dome.
That is insane.
But that's like one of those like eminent domain ones where like, yes, it's been renamed since then, but nobody does call it that consistently.
It's like the Rexall plays in the Coliseum.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point. Old people.
it was always known as Skyreach to me.
Why the hell did you point at me?
No, like because you were
Old people.
No.
Old people, and the thumb's going to me.
He did point right
Yeah,
at
I
you.
know.
Yeah, because
I was
felt
not
like
included.
you were gonna make a point
I-
that like no, we stopped calling it Coliseum. What I was gonna say is old people, like my grandparents, always called it the Coliseum.
The
fair.
LRT station is called the Coliseum.
Coliseum Station
Yeah,
and Stadium Station.
Well, it is Northlands Coliseum. Officially, like the building.
that's what it is.
That's what the basic building, yeah.
Asbestos Central.
That's when
according to
Northlands
my-
is buying the rights to it.
I think it's just on Northlands land, so it's Northlands Coliseum.
That's Coliseum.
Well, what happened? Why did we start going Skyreach?
It's kind of like how the.
Because they bought the rights from Northlands.
It's kind of like when Commonwealth. It's
Oh
the
no, because
brick
Northlands
field
was
at
paid us like
Commonwealth.
Yeah, that was
$1 a year
stupid.
for it because they
Yeah,
had some
whatever
sort of deal set up. I
Administrative.
can't remember. Yeah, some sort of behind the. It was all like good, all in good and
Yeah.
well, but
Back with the Agricom.
yeah, I remember the Agricom.
Well, gentlemen, should
Nothing
we get
else.
into it?
Big Brother? Let's talk
We
Big
talked
Brother.
a lot of Big Brother before the show, but there was some news this week, obviously. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you know by now. The St. Louis Blues dual offer sheets to Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg, both 2-year deals for just over 4.5 for Philip Broberg and around 2.4 for Dylan Holloway. The Oilers have until next Tuesday to match, so by the time we record this podcast again 7 days from now, we will know how things play out, but I wanted to start before we get into any sort of delicious debate or anything like that. We'll go around the room. Kind of what were your initial reactions when you woke up or opened your phone and got the buzz and saw the tweet notification that this was going down? Dan?
I just kind of felt like it was the hammer dropping from our July the 1st and July the 2nd. We had so much excitement at that time, and the money has just been kind of a question mark since then. We've been waiting for a Draisaitl extension, and knowing that there was some RFAs kind of hanging out there, it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, business is time to be done.
Liam?
I mean, shocked, to say the least. Especially looking at the money that they gave Broberg.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that, like, and reasonable too, that like everyone was comfortable with them still being RFAs. Like, we kind of went through it on O&E and like,
And we all kind of knew that a team could screw the Oilers if they wanted to, but it's like, oh, no one ever
Nobody
one ever does
Nobody
that.
does it. Nothing to worry about.
The
Yeah.
previous 10 years, there had been 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, I should look at the dates of when offer shoots happened, but like, we're late into the summer here, and like, I know St. Louis had the news of like Torrey Krug and everything, but that was still like 2-3 weeks ago. But kind of interesting, like the timing of it all and everything too. Like the others finally get things sorted out with like Van de Kane possibly going on LTIR, and it looked like that was going to open up the space they needed. You were just like, all we've heard about is the Draisaitl news, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, by the way, you're probably not going to have one or two of these guys.
Yeah. Rick, your initial reaction to the news coming down?
The initial reaction was I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think it just kind of put an end timeline on when this is going to get done, because I thought it was going to get done. What my mindset is now might be a little bit different than it was at the beginning. But at the very beginning, I was like, not a big deal. They'll get it done. And by Tuesday, everything will be taken care of. We'll
talk about, what they should or what we think they should do. Liam, you talked about the timing of it. Here are the dates of the offer sheets in the salary cap era. Ryan Kessler back in 2006 was on September 12th. Thomas Vanek, when the Oilers offer sheeted him, was July 6th. Penner was July 26th. He was a rare one who was not matched, obviously. We know the Oilers got the player. David Backes was on July 1 from St. Louis to Vancouver, matched. Steve Bernier, July 8th, Vancouver, St. Louis. That was a retribution one, so to speak, because it was the reverse of the Backes one. It also ended up just getting matched. Jalmerson, July 9th. Weber, July 18th. Ryan O'Reilly, that was a lockout, shortened year, so Feb 28. And then Aho was July 1, and Kotkaniemi was all the way on August 28th. So
two late ones in there.
Yeah, a couple of late ones. So it's not...
But the late ones were like... season training camp is beginning.
Well, it was still August. It was like another week from now. And then, the Kessler one was September. So that was obviously much closer.
But do we think that the timing was more convenient around the announcement of a GM?
I think there's a lot of things that were happening in the Oilers organization, Bowman being one, Kane the other, and then St. Louis saw a time to jump at it.
It is a good, it actually, if you wanted to catch the Oilers even more vulnerable, you think you would have maybe done this on July 15th before they have a GM, being like, hey, they don't even have their GM hired yet. Or doing it like the day Bowman's hired, being like, let's get this done. But the other side of it is Broberg and Holloway had to agree to these, right? Which is something I think a few people maybe forgot in this whole process. It's not like St. Louis just put their hand up and was like, we're signing them. They were compliant in this whole thing. So maybe earlier in the summer, the Blues reached out and Holloway and Broberg were like, okay, let's bring it back to Edmonton. Hey, this is going on. Like, who knows how things played out behind the scenes, right? But they're certainly catching the Oilers in a pretty vulnerable spot. When you look at this, and again, we'll talk about what we think the Oilers could do. My kind of thinking of this is I think the Blues think they're getting Broberg and Dylan Holloway's a pawn to an extent in all of this. And my logic behind that is, one, we know Broberg, he asked out at one point. Who knows?
Did he ask out, or did he say, I want to play in the NHL, whether it be here, anywhere? I just want an opportunity to play.
He submitted a trade request.
So
I guess either one is right.
Whatever.
So I thought it was more of like, hey, I just want to play in the NHL, and I know the Oilers obviously had Nurse, Ekholm, Kulak, and then you had Bush, you had Vin, you had Ceci. He didn't really see an entrance in there. Then when he got some ice time, I figured that all kind of went away because all he really wanted was an opportunity to play in the NHL, and he's getting that opportunity finally. And then this year, obviously there's an open spot. It's pretty much almost penned in, not penciled, but penned in. So that part, when everyone keeps saying that he wanted out, catches me off guard a bit.
I think he still would have welcomed a fresh start. I don't think he liked the way he's handled over the last couple of years by the organization, and I don't entirely blame him. He spent a lot of games as a seventh defenseman playing 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, but we were running a 7 defenseman system, right? Where there's 2 guys, and then at the time,
I mean, the way we see
Vin just was a little bit better in that role, in the less minutes, in the type of role you needed. Broberg went back down, and then when he got an opportunity this year into a little more of a larger role, I think he fit in.
I think my point is, I don't think Philip Broberg, especially I think compared to Dylan Holloway, I don't think Philip Broberg feels any sort of loyalty to the Oilers in this whole situation. I think he sits there and goes, hey, you kind of jerked me around for a few years. You kept me as your 7th defenseman. You didn't really treat me like a top 10 pick. And, yeah, St. Louis is going to pay me. I'm going to go. And I think what maybe happened here, because with Broberg, like $9.16 million compared to what he could get in Edmonton over the next 2 years, that's like $6 million more.
Well, it's Yeah, but weren't they asking for like 1.8?
Exactly, that's what I mean, right? Like he's getting an extra $6 million over the next 2 years to be a Blue versus an Oiler, and I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, go get your money, man. Like that makes sense. With Holloway, 4.58 over the next 2 years as an Oiler, especially if he would have had a good year this year.
It's double.
You could argue it's maybe even a little less than double. Like he could have gotten maybe 1.1.
Well, yeah, I mean,
1.2.
look at it per year though, right? So Broberg was what 4.5 or something like that in there. They wanted 1.8. Dylan's what 2.5, and they were asking 1.2 or something like that.
1.2, yeah, 2.4 to 1.2. So it's about double.
I said it before, man. Had we had the cap space, I probably would have given Broberg the Clefbaum contract earlier this year.
It's just and after
And
the cup
even
final,
when and if everyone's being honest here and goes back to when Clefbaum signed that contract, it was a bit of a risk at the same time. He was not Clefbaum that we remember. Mm-hmm. What we remember, like the Clefbaum they gave that contract to was we think he's going to grow into these shoes, and he did. Yeah. And I think I would have done the exact same thing with Broberg, which today, I mean, I'd have to talk to him, but I'd be still willing to do it right now if you can find a way to do it.
I think the only difference is where the Oilers are at as an organization. When they signed Clefbaum to that, you have all the cap space you want. You're building towards something, and it's like you can afford to take that risk when you know you're not going to be very good the next couple of seasons, or you're just coming into being good the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, but this could be also, if we dealt with Broberg the way I was talking about it, it could be eliminating the ultimate where Nurse ends up, right? Like if you pay him right now,
then you don't.
He has 2 big years ahead of him. Like after the playoffs, everyone's talking about him being a top 4 defenseman. He could easily, if he came in this year and just played Ceci's spot as the second right D, he could easily at the end of the year be a $4 million defenseman.
He's also only, okay, we'll get to the Broberg thing in a second, but my point with Holloway too was it wasn't like such an insane overpay for Holloway that I looked at that and went, okay, you're an Alberta boy who's playing on a great team, and for the future of your career, you could have a chance next year to be stapled next to Leon Draisaitl for long stretches. Mm-hmm. You have a chance to be a top 6 winger here. And I know you could say, like, yeah, he'll have a chance to do it in St. Louis, but it's like, yeah, you could do it in St. Louis, but is your upside career-wise as great as it is here? And I wonder if maybe Broberg or Holloway and his agent didn't sit there and go, oh, yeah, St. Louis is using us as a pawn. Edmonton's not going to let me go for a third-round pick. Don't match me before they match him. I'm more proven. And if Holloway didn't look at this and go, I know I'm not going to end up in St. Louis. This is just a good way for me to ensure I'm an Oiler. And he gets to have his cake and eat it too. He gets paid, and he's pretty confident he's still going to get to be an Oiler.
They had to talk him into that one too, right? Like the report, like whatever I read on Twitter or something like that, is that Holloway needed a little more push to sign than Broberg did.
And I believe that, because with Broberg, it's like, dude, yeah, you need to play. So, like, there's spots on the St. Louis blue line, and you're getting so much money. With Holloway, I looked at that a bit more of like, might not be the best career move for you. Like, a couple extra mil is different than 6 extra mil is my point.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think when you look at the Blues forward group compared to the Oilers forward group too, within the next couple of years, there's probably going to be more opportunity for Holloway to break into the Oilers top 6 and the Blues top 6.
Blues top 6, Neighbors, Thomas, Kyrou, Saad, Buchnevich, and Shen.
Like, you look at the Oilers.
Well, he could take Saad's spot within a year or two. He's going to be in the top 6 this year with the Oilers. But
you could say the Oilers, Skinner's a one-year thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Nuge has spent some time last year on a third line with Henrique. Like, you could look at this and go, Dylan Holloway has just as good of a spot next season and the year after as being in the Oilers top 6.
Top 9, our 9 forwards is just as offensively talented as their top. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, any of our top 9 guys could fit in their top 6.
Yeah, probably.
So even if you're a top 9 guy here, it's not an actual top 9. We're just so...
You're playing with legit talent.
Yeah, we're blessed with a lot of talent in our top 9.
Yeah.
Rick and I are just going back and forth hard.
Well, that's fine.
I think for me, I've just been sitting here I'm annoyed at the fact that the Oilers organization let this come to this. And we
so
heard.
You think there's blame to be put at a Holland or a Jeff Jackson?
Yes.
Yeah, I think all the blame is to be put on Jeff Jackson, not Ken Holland at all. And I think that
wasn't the report that they were told around Christmas time?
Great. Tell Ken,
if Jeff Jackson.
Exactly. Tell Ken Holland to do that in January when Broberg and Holloway are in the AHL. That's the message you give to Ken Holland. So those two guys have no bargaining power at all, and you're coming to them saying we want a contract from you. They're not going to agree to it at that point. That's silly. For Jeff Jackson to have been the general manager in interim general manager.
President of Hockey Ops, he oversees the whole department.
Through that entire time, and to go through the entire exercise that we went through at free agency and signed all the guys that he signed, and then looked back at your roster and be like, oh shit, I tried to get Broberg and Holloway in January and it didn't happen. Like, it's confusing to me, and that's frustrating to me as a fan.
Also, if Holloway wanted 1.2, why are you not getting that 1.2 signed before you give Perry 1.15?
Do you think
I know you can bury Perry or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
maybe they thought they could get around it. But to me, that's just dumb. You have
That
a
is dumb.
39-year-old who couldn't stay in the playoffs and a former first-round pick who scored at what works out to basically be a 20-goal pace in the playoffs.
Holloway had the second most 5-on-5 goals for the Oilers in the playoffs.
And you didn't want to pay him.
Yeah.
So I have issues with Jeff Jackson on
Me too.
on a couple levels, right? He brings in Stan Bowman and you expose us to this stuff. Doug Armstrong and Stan Bowman go
Have a
at
history,
it.
yeah.
And they don't have, and there's something to be said, and Bag Milk was talking about it on Better Late Than Never. There's something to be said for that, like, unsaid, that code of you don't offer sheet other GMs if you're afraid that you may not get a job down the line kind of thing. I think that that's caution to the wind with the Edmonton Oilers because nobody gives a flying shit about what Stan Bowman thinks of them. So I really do feel like this sits on Jeff Jackson, and it is what it is. I'm with you, Rick, and I have that kind of feeling of like the Oilers are going to move forward. Whatever they decide to do here, they're going to be fine. This is not going to I don't think any of us thought that the Stanley Cup in 2025 is going to be handed to Broberg or Holloway in the first 10. So it's just not going to be a part of the conversation. But these are little misses in an off season when we need all those bullets to land and land well.
Do you think that GMs and other departments look at Jeff Jackson and think, I think that guy thinks his shit doesn't stink with the way he's kind of done this offseason and we're going to screw him over right now?
I think there's a bit of that.
Like, you look at all the moves he's done, and like Dan just kind of went through, and he's just like, how about we give this guy a bit of a welcome to the NHL moment and offer sheet his two best prospects?
I also think, like Rick, you talked about, does blame lie at Ken Holland's feet? I think it does.
Sorry, when I said that, I didn't remember exactly when Jeff Jackson got here, but Ken Holland was GM. It's on Holland, it's on Jackson, it's on Bowman, it's on anyone who's in that office from 2 days ago till, I don't know, go backwards as maybe at the beginning of the season.
And you talked about how like Holloway and Broberg wouldn't want to sign deals while they're in the minors. I think part of it, like, you could spin it. You could go to those guys if they're frustrated with their development. Dylan Holloway's hurt. I think a smart organization goes to those guys then and goes, hey, you're still a part of our future. We believe in you. Here's 3 years by $1.2 million. We think you're going to be an NHLer for us for the next couple of years. Like, I don't know. There's ways to maybe spin it. I don't love that now magically on August whatever it was, 13th, there's retroactive fingers being pointed. Jeff Jackson told Ken Holland to do it. He didn't do it. Okay, you're Jeff Jackson. You're the president of Hockey Ops. If you tell Ken Holland to do it and he's not getting it done, pick up the phone, call the agents, and say, let's get this done. At that point, you don't give a shit about what Ken Holland thinks about you. Like, the season's almost done.
Do you think the agents stopped talking contract after the end of the regular season?
Possibly.
And then there probably was very little talk between the first game of the playoffs till, Tuesday or whatever the hell day this happened on.
Also, like, again, we keep kind of forgetting this about Broberg, and we're going to get to the delicious debate in a second here. But, like, Philip Broberg has shown us he's an NHLer for 10 games. 10 playoff games. Outside of that, he was really never in the top 6 all that much. He had his run as a seventh defenseman, played a little bit the year before that, but, like, there is as
he
much
played like
of
40 or 50 games before that. I mean,
But he wasn't
I was
playing.
a little surprised when I heard that
and go
number.
look at how many of them where he played sub 7 minutes in them. Like, they barely count as NHL games. But my point is, like, we're sitting here penciling in Philip Broberg or putting it in pen that he's next to Darnell Nurse. He's a top 4 defenseman. There's just as good of a chance that he's in way over his head, and by Christmas he's a third pairing guy in St. Louis, or he's not even in the lineup in St. Louis. Like, we have not seen enough from. I loved what I saw in the 10 games, and those 10 games made me I was comfortable enough to say he'll play for the Oilers next year. But there's a difference between doing it for 3 weeks and doing it for 30 games.
Right, that's 3 weeks of playoff times. That's like,
But
I'm just
Rick
kidding.
still,
I'm kidding.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
The other part of it, too, you have a $4.5 million defenseman. That is not an easy guy to just send up top for a few games. You have
can't sit him,
you
yeah.
have him at 1 point whatever. It's like Broberg, you're out tonight.
Part of the development. Hey, take a look up top.
He's third highest paid defenseman if he comes back.
He'd be making $600K more than Bush next
When
season.
when we try and like re-sign him here, do we have to match the year in the term?
We have to match.
Can we
everything.
go more? Can we go more years, less term?
Nope.
We can go more years, more term.
No, he has agreed to
Can't
that
change
contract.
it.
It's either us or St. Louis.
Contract is locked in. It's just whatever team wants it.
See, I saw this thing the other day, and I don't think it's true, but I'm sure other people saw it too. The Oilers can't package them together now, can they, and trade them?
You can't
Cannot
trade them until
They are locked
for a
on.
calendar year.
No, it's within this next 7 days.
Can't
That's
trade
it, right? Like, the only thing the Oilers can do now is either say, welcome back, or thank you very much.
Also, I saw that Trina's Oil account send out a tweet, I think it was yesterday, being like, per my sources, the Oilers are still considering moves to add LTIR space or trade the rights to Broberg and Holloway.
Yeah.
If you've ever believed anything that's come from that account, this is an ultimate sign of why you should not, because neither of those would help.
Per Garfield.
There's basically no upside.
Trading for LTI made no sense to me.
The only way it made sense is, I was talking to Quads at Canucks Army, is if you were to go to a team like Vancouver who has Tucker Poolman's LTIR money.
Sure.
And they're real close. If they can get rid of that, they're cap compliant and they can accrue throughout the year. So, and this will tie into the delicious debate, if you went to Vancouver and said, hey, we'll take Tucker Poolman's LTIR money for a 5th round pick. So you get a 5th round pick, then you take that 5th, package it with Ceci, trade Ceci. And then the LTIR money, once you're in LTIR, and the Oilers will be now, they're locked in there. It doesn't matter how much LTIR you have, right? So if you could get a pick for adding LTIR money, then that makes sense because you've added the asset. You can use that asset to attach it to a CC and clear up meaningful cap space. Like, that's the only way adding LTIR makes sense. But adding Tucker Poolman at 2.5 doesn't give you 2.5 million more to sign players.
No.
Yeah.
And is he out all year?
Yeah, he's done.
Okay.
There's,
Now, didn't Frank say that there's already a CC trade on the table? Like, there's one there. Just in case of emergency break last time, like it's there, it's done already.
Well, I mean, things probably changed now. So the report just came out from Bruce Garrock.
Yeah,
There's Gary Ock.
out of
Garriock.
Ottawa.
He wrote an article about how the Oilers should have done what the Senators did with Shane Pinto, and I'm assuming added this in. Oilers Access tweeted out. The Oilers are trying to trade Cody Ceci and Brett Kulak to match offer sheets for Broberg and Holloway. Per Bruce, teams have shown interest but are asking for a 1st or a 2nd to take either contract, knowing that Jackson and Bowman are cornered.
So, well, let's get into that now with the delicious debate. It's brought to you by A&W. Burgers to Beat MS Day is back, celebrating its 16th year on Thursday, August 22nd. For every teen burger sold on Burgers to Beat MS Day, $2 will be donated to MS Canada. In the lead up to August 22nd, you can support Burgers to Beat MS by rounding up your bill with any purchase at an A&W, donating online at burgerstobeatms.ca or through the A&W app. A&W is rallying communities to unite for the cause and raise awareness about MS in Canada. That's why on August 22nd, Canadians can show their support and help envision a world free of MS by visiting their local A&W restaurants and purchasing a delicious teen burger to directly and positively benefit groundbreaking research and support for individuals living with and affected by MS. So we talked about our reaction to the news. So for the delicious debate, let's talk about what the Oilers' reaction would be. Dan, if you were in Stan Bowman's shoes, what would you do in this? Would you match them both? Would you match one? Would you try to trade CC and match both? Would you match neither? What would your play be if you were Bowman?
I feel like I'm still being emotional in saying that I wouldn't match either of them. Like, I really do think that the Oilers could use some of that space to just kind of move on from it. And I really, like, I would like to see Broberg come back, but at that number, I just don't think that it can work with this team when we already have the issues that we have with a Darnell Nurse contract and talking about having to sit a $4 million contract. It's just silly. So, yeah, I'm at the point where I don't match either, but I think that the Oilers are probably going to try and match Holloway and then see what they can do with Broberg.
Liam, what would you do if you were Stan Bowman?
I think my initial reaction was actually just say thank you very much from the show we did on Tuesday.
And let them both go?
That was my reaction to it because I believe that the Oilers, with those picks, can still get good assets back on the deadline. This roster will be fine with or without them to get them to that point. I think I would match Holloway the more I've thought about it. I think you can swallow the pill of not paying Broberg that money with so much unknown and getting a 2nd round pick back in return without having a 1st round pick this year. I don't think St. Louis is going to be a playoff team this season. So it's probably like a decently high second round pick you're going to get.
And
from them, right?
they could have a first round pick this year. They have to give one of their next 2 first to Philly as a part of that deal. So that is part of it.
So that maybe changes things a little bit, but I think I would match Holloway because I think Holloway is more likely to match that contract quicker than what Broberg would. If it was like 4 years for Broberg, I would take it.
And especially just kind of what you read about it could cost. I don't think it'll cost a first to get rid of Ceci. I think that's dumb.
The thing is too, like Kulak's actually they're both
player.
actually good in the third pairing role they have.
You could find
Ceci can be a third liner.
He's very good third pairing defenseman.
3.1 or 3.25 for one season for a 30-year-old defenseman isn't the end of the world.
No.
So where I come out on it is if it costs anything more than a fourth to get rid of Ceci, then I sit there and go, okay, I could trade let's say it costs a second. Do you want to trade a second round pick, lose Cody Ceci, which is fine. I'm not saying it's not, but like second round pick to lose Cody Ceci, and you match Broberg, who is now overpaid and a gamble, no longer like a valuable or a value deal, value asset for you. Or you could keep your second round pick, gain another second round pick, try to just fill in with somebody else, sign some PTOs, sign some free agents. We'll get to some potential options on that later in Ask the Idiots. But you can do that, have 2 second round picks. Chris Tanev basically went for similar value last year at the deadline. So can you make work for a few months, use those 2 second round picks, and go get someone who's better than Philip Broberg this season at the deadline and come out ahead in this whole thing? So if someone would take Ceci for free, I trade Ceci and I match both. If someone wants a fifth to take Ceci, I would give up a fifth or even the extra fourth you have from the Borgo-Jarventi trade. But I wouldn't go higher than a fourth. If it's any higher than a fourth, Broberg's gone. But I will say I'm matching Holloway no matter what because of the Evander Kane situation. With Evander Kane on LTIR, I think you have a need to keep Holloway in your top 9. So I keep Holloway no matter what, and Broberg is dependent on the cost of dumping Ceci. Rick, what do you do?
I'm closer to you there. I'm keeping both. I'm moving Ceci. Like I said before, I'm willing to give Broberg that contract. I think even with 2 years, so even if you do say you start, putting him in the start benching him and whatnot and healthy scratching him, it's only 2 years. You can get out from him. You got a couple defensemen coming up behind him who hopefully, whether he makes it or not, we hope the Akies and a couple other guys are going to be in the NHL anyway, so you can replace them pretty easily. But no, I'm moving CC, LTIring Kane, and I'm signing both of them.
Yeah, but let's follow up with this. How far would you go?
I'll even do a third. So and the way I look at it is like, would I take CC and a third to trade for Broberg? And I think, that's about as far as I'm willing to go.
You also have to factor in the second year now not getting compensation.
But it's not coming back. It's never yours in the first place.
It's never yours. That's a okay way to look at it. But it's like almost like not picking up a $10 bill that's lying on the ground. You go, it was never mine to begin with, or do you go, that's a free $10. I just got to stop and pick it up.
Yeah, he'll buy 2 bananas these days, $10. Like a
grocery prices.
But no, like a third round pick. What's that turn into for us? How often does a third round pick end up on the roster?
I view it all through the lens of deadline assets.
And that's fair. When you brought up the Tanev situation, that I thought about a little bit differently. When you are thinking about adding players, at the deadline, maybe doing my move right now hampers it a bit. But at the same time, you don't know what's going to happen down the road. You don't know what kind of injuries are going to happen down the road. You've got a couple older guys out there. Perry getting hurt for, a couple months. That's not crazy. Derek Ryan getting hurt. That you kind of deal with it when you get to that bridge. Take care of this, keep them both, and we'll figure out everything else as we get further into the season.
Stuart Skinner, by the way.
What?
You asked what does a third round pick turn into?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, and you're right. There are some times.
Cherry pick.
There are times. I mean, there was a time when I was all for Jones and Bear, and they were 4 and 5, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, yes. The majority of the time, you look at our third round picks and.
Let's list them all, Liam. Go.
No, let's not.
We don't need to do that.
It's already cloudy enough today.
Yeah, so the Oilers, just, again, for people maybe wondering, draft pick-wise, again, they have to give one of their next 2 first-round picks to Philly as a part of the deal they made to move into the first round this past year. They don't have a second this year. They have a third, 2 fourths, no fifth, but they have a 6th and a 7th. And then in 2026, again, they maybe have a first, they maybe don't. They do have a second, a third, no fourth, but they have a 5th, 6th, and 7th. So that's their draft pick capital. The idea of getting a second-round pick for Broberg is very, very tempting. Like, again, we'd Coombsy on ON every day on Wednesday, and he was like, if someone would have told you 2 months ago, or maybe 2 months before the playoffs, hey, the Oilers are going to dump Broberg for a second-round pick, or the Oilers are going to sign Broberg for $4.5 million per year over the next 2 years, which one would have surprised you the least? Getting the second-round pick would have surprised you the least. You'd have been like, oh, that's probably a more realistic outcome here. He's not even playing in the NHL right now. So getting that second-round pick and having, and the point I also made coming off that was, if you get the second, and like Liam said, cross your fingers, hope St. Louis is very good, which I don't think they will be next year, and that picks in like the 35 to 45 range. Do you sit there at the deadline and all of a sudden go, wait, we feel way better about moving our first, which is going to be like pick 32, because we'll just take that second rounder. Like, maybe your first-round pick becomes way easier to move in your mind because, hey, we got this second-round pick back, and it's only 10 picks later than when our first is going to be.
Another
Potentially
thing,
fewer picks less.
Yeah, another layer to it as well. This draft class is similar to the Reed Schaefer draft class, where the top is good, and then it's just kind of like from like 20 to 45 is just kind of shoot shots, see what you get.
Relatively the same.
Yeah, so an early second, a late first. The only difference is the name.
Yeah.
Another layer to it. I don't know. I think my other thing too, one thing that should be thought about is it's easier to get a scoring winger than a defenseman like Broberg.
But you have the defenseman who is going to be on a much shittier contract, who's a much bigger risk because he's less experienced, and the compensation's less, which is a layer to this.
So the other layer to it is the players that are actually available if Broberg goes. The others could just bring up a guy like
Stetcher.
Troy Stetcher, he's your top 4 defenseman.
You did sign Stetcher, Carrick, and Josh Brown.
Yes. So you have the depth for injuries, but if something like this is happening,
Ceci, Stetcher is
not
awesome.
good.
Yeah, I was going to say frightening.
What about, so here's a couple options. Hear me out. Justin Schultz is a right shot defenseman that's probably going to look for a PTO this year.
You're ruining an Ask the Idiots question.
Oh, well, you never sent me the script.
I know. Well, do you just want to get into Ask the Idiots
I
then?
may as well.
Grab a Burger Beat MS on August 22nd.
Okay, let's get into Ask the Idiots.
This is a gamble we take every time.
It is brought to you by our friends at Bet365. We've got a handful of questions lined up for the boys. You can get in on a huge range of markets at Bet365 by downloading the app and using the promo code OILYBONUS. That is the promo code OILYBONUS. I love that we have Bet365 on board the show. It is without a doubt my favorite sportsbook to use. It is without a doubt the sportsbook I use most frequently. Whatever sport, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. The first question I got, if the Oilers were to let Philip Broberg go, would you prefer they sign Justin Schultz or Tyson Barrie?
Can I throw a third name in there?
Sure.
Please.
John Klingberg.
Isn't he still hurt?
Is he
Also,
hurt?
he was unplayable in Toronto last year.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that.
I would probably consider Klingberg more than the other two.
I would not bring back Barry.
I think I would bring back Schultz.
Schultz is not the same player he was when he was
He's
here.
not who you think he is, Rick. And I thought he was too, and then I kind of did some digging, and I was like, that's actually not the worst idea ever.
So does he kill penalties?
No.
But Broberg didn't that much either. The others,
But he hasn't done much yet.
but the others have 4 defensemen that could do it.
He's not the Norris Trophy potential that Craig McTavish anointed
We were
him.
promised
Not the second
How
coming
do
of
you
Paul
know this?
Coffey.
when he signed
He's,
the Millennium
he's
Place.
in the league. He plays defenseman. He's a Norris Trophy candidate.
That's true. These are all true. But I mean, to me, Tyson Barrie is a guy that absolutely fell off a cliff in Nashville. And he had every opportunity in Nashville to just do stuff, and he can't.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's an NHL player at this point.
I think he's going to be a great San Jose Shark.
Yeah.
But we also know, like, Barrie and Darnell Nurse, also Justin Schultz, does not kill penalties.
That's fine.
And his 5v5 numbers last year, like, he played 948 minutes at 5v5.
The Schultz?
Yeah, this Schultz. 53% Corsi, 52% Fenwick, 52% shots for. His goal for percentage stunk. It was 39%, which is, again, not good.
Who was he
but
playing with last year?
Seattle.
His PDO was 9.5, which is very low, and his on-ice shooting percentage was the lowest among Seattle Kraken defenseman. So there is maybe a bit of a buy low theory with Schultz, is what I'm thinking.
But did he have Paul Coffey as his coach in Seattle?
Decent point. And he could be the second coming of Paul Coffey.
I'm just saying.
I think Schultz is again very different from what he was when he was an Oiler. He's been around those guys he's a 2-time Stanley Cup winner, back-to-backs, and he was played a decent role on those Pittsburgh teams as well.
That was also 6 years ago.
I know, but I just mean we bring in Corey Perry, who's literally won when he was 18.
Yeah,
there's jokes on the internet about him not winning Stanley Cups more than there is about him winning them.
But Justin Schultz, I don't need him to come in here and be anything special. You just need him to come in, kill some minutes.
Perfect candidate for a PTO for the Edmonton Oilers.
Totally. I would bring him in on a PTO.
But he has to agree to that.
Yeah.
But at this point, he's probably not got much on the table,
This is true.
Rick, do you like Barry? Do you like Schultz? Do you like another name out there? I can pull up the list too.
Barry, when he left Edmonton, if we were getting that version of Barry back, I'd be okay with it. I think he kind of tried to take care of his 5-on-5 game a little bit better, was kind of trying to drop the offense a little bit, try to become a little bit better of an all-around player. But Dan's right. What he did I don't get me wrong, I wasn't watching a lot, but he wasn't doing a lot.
He didn't even play most
I think
games.
he was getting healthy scratched.
Yes.
That says something in itself. That I'm not bringing that player back.
And that's
Schultz,
a Nashville team that's begging for somebody.
help.
Yeah.
He played one playoff game.
Begging for character.
How many did they play? 6?
They went to game 6.
6, yeah. Schultz, I don't know.
Lesser of two evils.
Yeah, the shadows, the shadows on that name kind of scare me. Klingberg, I think, has still the highest potential out of those 3, but I don't think that's the type of defenseman you need either. You need that third line shutdown type of defenseman.
No, I think you need a puck mover to play with Nurse.
I think shutdown is what Ceci is supposed to be, and it doesn't work.
So when you're talking these guys, you're still putting Ceci as 3 and putting them ahead.
Yeah.
Then that says even more that I'm not willing to do that.
But
it is terrifying.
Barry and Schultz are definitely not playing. That's terrifying.
This is going to sound weird.
Here we go.
But just based on what we saw when you played them together in the playoffs, I actually think you might be able to give Kulak and Ceci you can give them tougher assignments than Nurse right now. So when I'm bringing in Schultz or Barry, we are thinking, he's playing with Darnell Nurse. It's second pairing. We have 2 third pairings. We have a top pairing and 2 third pairings.
See, and I think Darnell Nurse gets shit on so bad in this city.
Okay, yep.
He's always had an anchor. From the day he started here, they've always
Except
put an
Adam
anchor
Larson.
with him. Can we get him
Him and Adam Larson.
Can we get him a real partner, please? Can we get him a partner that can play on their own? That he doesn't have to worry about that type. That he can just worry about his own game. And even if he makes a mistake, he turns around and his D partner's there to take care of him. That's the way
Brett Kulak shot right, that'd be the best pairing.
You're right.
Nurse and Kulak.
And that's kind of where I think that out of the 4 names, Klingberg, Schultz, Barry, Broberg, I think Broberg's the best to play with him. If you can turn Broberg into the right-handed Kulak, I think that's what you do. But I mean, obviously we can't make that trade anymore.
Dan, I'll give some other names here. There are currently 9 unrestricted free agent right shot defensemen who play in the NHL last year.
None of them are going to make you feel good, I don't think.
One of them will.
I will sort them.
All right, we'll try and guess which one.
I will sort them by 5-on-5 time on ice per game last year.
Okay.
Klingberg's number 1. Again, is he healthy? Who knows? He also stunk in Toronto. But contract was shitty. Maybe there is something there. Gustav Lindstrom is number 2. He played in Anaheim.
Literally never heard of him.
I would have guessed a Detroit Red Wing. So
I think he used to be, actually. Tyson Barrie's 3. Kalen Addison is 4. Nikita Zaitsev's 5. He signed in Russia. Kevin Shattenkirk 6. Justin Schultz 7. Robert Bortuzzo 8. Tony D'Angelo 9. He also signed in Russia. So, any of those names?
Caden Addison is the one that's the closest comparison to what Broberg is with age.
24.
Is that the one you thought we were
Offensive.
going to be excited about?
It should be. He's
Okay.
the only one that
Got
jumps out. He's 24-year-old. I think he's an
In comparison
unrestricted
to the other
free
names,
agent.
this is why you get excited. You don't get excited by just seeing his name on
Is
his own.
Shattenkirk?
He had 40 points 2 years
but
ago.
we're talking what you're about to say about Shattenkirk. That's 8 years ago.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying, is
Yeah.
Shattenkirk a shell of him former self? His
It's like
former
bringing
self?
in Mike Green when we brought in Mike Green.
Hey,
I think
once
if-
an Oiler, always an Oiler, Rick.
Damn straight.
I think if you're looking for a guy, hypothetically, if Ceci was the one that walked away from this team and you were like, we need a third pairing guy, you could probably consider Shattenkirk then. But right now, you'd be asking, you think it's tough for Darnell Nurse now?
I would bring back Barry over a Shattenkirk because at least you'd get the boost in the room. Guys love Barry. Yeah.
Vibes.
There are vibes there. There are no vibes with bringing in
They get those. What is it? What's
cold chili ones? Or
the chili ones. They get a bunch of chili ones in the dressing room.
Yeah.
How about Tony D'Angelo clearing the air on morning cup of coffee right before he goes to the Russia?
Yeah. Came out, I was like, hey, you know what? That one's kind of on me.
Did he really fall off the map that bad?
Yeah, I think teams just view him as such a headache now, too.
But I thought, okay, so after that incident and then his whatever COVID or whatever the hell he had, I think he had something there too.
His anti-COVID podcast.
Outside of that,
Classic.
I thought he's been relatively fine. Like he's
Carolina,
been quiet. No one's really mentioned his name, which is a good thing for somebody like that.
Yeah. I think Carolina just kind of had him in like their second and third pairing.
No, they sat him for a lot of the
Oh, there
year.
you go.
And I was gonna say, in Carolina, if you're on Carolina, right there is something to hang your hat on. Because everyone says Carolina's the greatest. They bring in anybody, and they're like, "That's a great move, Carolina. Great move."
And then he's gone.
All right, a couple more Ask the Idiots for you guys. When I was reading out the history of offer sheets, there were a couple of times there, Carolina, then the Vancouver St. Louis back and forth with Bernier and Backus, where there's retribution. Do you think the Oilers could realistically target someone like Jake Neighbors next summer? And would you if you were in charge?
I would love to. You don't, and I don't think Neighbors is like this, but you don't want to be like Carolina and Montreal. And
Where
the
you sign an objectively shitty deal?
like the
Okay, if we
Vancouver
were
and
to, what kind of numbers are you talking about that we'd have to throw at Neighbors first?
Well,
of all?
the other problem is St. Louis have a lot of money next
They
season.
have way more cap space than us.
We're
So
not.
it makes it impossible. I think I'd love it because I love Jake Neighbors. I think he's a great guy. He was a really good oil king.
So if you were, what are you throwing at him, dollar wise?
I think the only way to make St. Louis make St. Louis flinch a little and wince and think about it is if you go heavy term, and this is probably a world where you get out of Evander Kane next year.
Kotkaniemi type of thing,
That
where
was
they
still
get 6 years or something stupid.
Kotkaniemi was still 1 year, 6.8.
Sorry, it's the other way around.
I would go, Aho had term. I would go 6x6 for Neighbors.
But-
I'd be like, I'm gonna pray to God this dude's a 30-goal scorer. But even then, it's like, why do you take that risk outside of just being mad?
So here's the thing with St. Louis. Neighbors is basically the only player they have to sign next season.
Yeah.
And you're walking into a fight where St. Louis has strategically chosen the Edmonton Oilers because the Edmonton Oilers are focused on something bigger. Yeah. They're looking at the Stanley Cup, whereas St. Louis is just kind of looking to make some fucking noise because everybody's left St. Louis and there's nothing left.
Also look at it.
So you're coming into there, you're trying to wave a big stick, and they have all the money in the world. So this feels like the Dustin Penner offer sheet with Anaheim, where it's just kind of like a shitty thing to do to Anaheim, but there's nothing that's going to be nothing's going to happen except for maybe a barn fight.
Yeah,
a hypothetical barn fight.
Barn or bar?
Barn.
Yes, okay. You look at the other ones, was Steve Bernier you said, and David Backus was the other one.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't want to be Steve Bernier, just Barry Kotkaniemi, do you?
Fair.
I don't think you do it. I just, like Dan said, you've got a timeline in front of you. You got a bit of a road that you've already put out in front of you. You don't worry about that extra bullshit. You figure it out today and you move on because you have one goal right now. It's the Stanley Cup, and it's multiple Stanley Cups.
Now, this is we're almost at episode 400 on Apple. So 800 episodes from now, when we have a couple of cups under our belt and St. Louis is kind of getting into their window, then it's time to go. Yes. The long game is where this one comes into.
I will say this. The fans, regardless of where these players go, the fans better make it very unwelcoming every time any type of white-collared St. Louis Blue comes to town. Mm-hmm. Their GM, I want it loud. You have to. I wish we were a little more like Philly fans.
Yeah. Let me float this one your way. Let's go down the path of Broberg leaves. Do you boo him his first game back?
Ask me on Tuesday.
But
I think we do as a fan base, yes. I think the Edmonton
fans. A good question to
fans.
say for next week.
Damn.
Hey, call me crazy.
Crazy.
Okay. What if the Oilers didn't offer sheet Jake Neighbors, but instead offer sheeted a guy like Joel Hofer instead, and you had the 1-2 punch of Skinner and Hofer forever? They were the best two goalies in the Western League going head-to-head at the time. You bring him in. Hofer's only 24. offer sheet him instead.
But then again, you have to you're overpaying for a backup again, right? Before you got to pay Stu.
Are you overpaying for a 1-2 punch? Because it's been shown now back-to-back years, and I 100% believe in Stuart Skinner.
Could they be your Swayman Allmark?
Could they be your Swayman? Which hasn't turned into anything for Boston besides winning a lot of games.
They need to move him
And disappointment this offseason, yeah.
Move him. I don't know. That's maybe the one I would look at more than maybe. It's more realistic.
All right, couple questions away from offer sheet talk. Which current Oiler would you think will make the best head coach one day?
Sam Gagne.
No, current Oiler.
Not a current Oiler.
Oh, damn
not
it.
under contract. I'm not
Derek
letting you say that.
Ryan.
Why?
Just in the history of a lot of sports,
Yes.
that type of player usually turns into a better coach than, say, the Wayne Gretzky's of the world. It's just they had to work on their game a lot more. They understand the average player a lot more because the average player goes through the long route, not the 15-year-old being allowed to play in the dub and then, getting bumped in there at the NHL.
Liam?
Maybe Connor Brown. A guy who's played, had a really good junior career, obviously, but then grind his way through the NHL. Played with some star players. Connor Brown is my answer.
Dan, did you give a secondary outside of Gagne?
My wrong answer?
Yeah, we aren't letting you use Gagne.
my
Somebody on the team, please.
if I had to actually look at the team, and I just did it, I went through the entire roster in my head. Darnell Nurse sticks out in my head, and I don't know.
He gives me coach demeanor. I can see him standing tall on the bench.
Yeah, and imagine a post game press conference with Darnell. He just, I don't know. He's calm, cool, collected. I don't know. There's probably going to be nobody on this team that's going to be a coach, though.
I was going to say Nuge. Penalty kill, power play.
But he hates hockey.
I know he doesn't like
He's
hockey.
going right to the horse track, man.
Yeah. What about
Infinite
Hyman?
patience.
That's a guy who, again, if you want to.
He's got
Yeah, there's a guy
skilled.
that also has, I think, taken a lot out of what he does with things. So he gives back to the things that he takes from. So yeah, no, I think
How bad did you want to say Brad Malone?
I did, but
Not
he's not.
And he does want to
So he
work
chose
in
another
hockey still.
non-Oiler.
All right, last one I got for you guys, non-hockey one. At what age does your birthday stop being exciting?
This one hurts because I used to love my birthday.
You used to love your birthday back when we
did.
first knew each other.
I did. I threw the biggest events. I'm going to say...
I'll say 30 because that's
See-
when it's and then I'm not 30 yet, but feel like I'm not.
I think
going out.
I
all
think
that much.
COVID killed my birthday. I had 2 COVID birthdays. So I'm
COVID
going to
started
say...
on my birthday.
Well, sorry, Rick.
That's sad.
I'm going to say 26.
Dan, Rick,
My answer's super sad. It's for me, it was 19 years old. I had my 19th birthday party in Halifax. That's the drinking age,
Yeah,
and nobody showed up, and so that was kind of the end of it for me. I know it's super pathetic, but that's just the truth. Sucked at 19. Go ahead, Rick.
All right.
okay. Actually, this was my follow-up ad to you. Uplifting. Are your birthdays more fun with kids? Do you feel like they're a little bit special now? If kids come and give you something?
Yes, yes, for sure. It's nice when you have a team of people that just have to participate in things. But you're right. But you're absolutely right. That's good.
Man, you're gonna make me cry.
Well, hey,
Rick?
speaking of a team that has to do something for it, hey, buddy, I work in a bar.
Yeah.
And
just
for
so
me, it's different though because my birthday happens to land on a massive
International
party day.
holiday. Yeah.
So I don't know. Every day just seems to go off. Probably around 30, and then they become incremental, right?
Benchmarks.
30, 35, 40,
Yeah.
after that.
All right. Well, that wasn't the way I thought that question was going to go. All right. We're going to step aside and take a quick break, and then we will be back with hot and cold performers for the week. All right, back on the Real Life Podcast. It is time for Hot and Cold Performers, and it is brought to you by the Oilersnation Open, which is coming out to the Millwoods Golf Course once again on August 30th. Private club conditions for under $100. It is a fantastic spot to play 18 in the city, and the Oilers Nation Open still has some spots available. Head to nationgear.ca. You can sign up as a foursome. I think we still have a Mosaic spot open. I'm not 100% sure on that. But you can also bid to golf with myself, Jay, and Chalmers. All proceeds going to support Gregor's Grads. The current bid is at $1,000. If you want to, you and a friend get to golf with me, Jay, and Chalmers. We'll buy you some beverages and whatnot. We'll have a good time, and we could potentially win the damn thing. So head to nationgear.ca to get in on the Oilers Nation Open, presented by Star Mechanical and Oodle Noodle, and hosted at the Millwoods Golf Course. Gentlemen, hot and cold performers for the week. I will start at the end. We will start with our veggies, as our pal BM would say. And Dan, your cold performer of the week. It can't be my birthday question.
Well,
Something
Tyler,
different.
you did lead our guests into this show saying that it is the Welcome Back to the Real Life podcast.
Did I?
Yes. It did, and I know why you did it, because you were doing the ad read about the real life team. And so
yeah.
it's understandable, but we
so
are on
cold
Oilersnation
performer
Radio still. But my cold performer is going to go out to one of our, I think, a podcast favorite here, the company Costco. I don't know if you noticed or if you saw the news, but
They changed
are
the hot dog price.
They are putting in membership card scanners across Canada, and Edmonton is one of the 4 cities that are getting it right away. And so you will not be able to get hot dogs without a membership anymore.
Oh, it's on that side too.
They are apparently going to be blocking off the entire thing. So
That's
I get it from a business perspective. Costco, you've let us ride on your coattails for a long time for free without a membership. But Costco, for putting in your membership scanners in Edmonton first, you get my cold performer of the week.
Why are you the way that you are? I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Although I don't know what's the base level Costco membership cost. I'm an executive.
$80 or something, I think.
$60.
$60?
I think it's $60.
It,
Yeah.
depending on how many hot dogs you eat in a year, it might still be worth it. You might still come out ahead in the whole thing.
Just
from-
hot dogs and rotisserie chickens, you're taken care of.
good. Liam, cold performer of the
Oh,
week.
and gas.
Liam says the gas at Costco sucks and you shouldn't use it.
It's not good.
I think that's bullshit. I don't care as long as
I've heard
I'm
that about the
saving money.
tires at Costco.
So the price is fine, but the quality of the gasoline is not good. Exactly. Can you explain this, please?
The additives within the gasoline. Look it up.
Makes you burn it faster.
Yeah, like you'll run out. Your fuel, what was it? Fuel economy,
economy?
isn't as good.
Oh,
If
that's
you
where
got,
they
like,
trick you.
A Shell, SO.
That's how they're
petrol.
affording the hot dogs.
Yes. So,
Liam,
like,
cold performer of the week.
cold performer of the week. I watched the movie Liar Liar. You guys seen that one with Jim Carrey?
What, 30 years old? Yeah.
1997.
Fantastic movie. I've never seen it before. Very funny. And I wanted to know what its rating was on Rotten Tomatoes. And I have a Google Home. And I said, "Hey Google, can you tell me what the Rotten Tomatoes score is for Liar Liar?" And it's like, "Sorry, I do not understand what you're saying." So then my girlfriend imitates me and does exactly that. And Google goes, Liar Liar is rated blah, blah, blah on Rotten Tomatoes. I was like,
Did she do an accent?
100%. She
Yes.
completely mocked me. And it worked. I couldn't believe it. So Google Home. Burr, burr, burr. Mm-hmm.
Also, you probably just messed up a lot of people by saying, "Hey Google" aloud. When I worked when I worked for the radio station, I did that once. I went on the air and I said, "Hey Google, set an alarm for 2 a.m." And a bunch of people the next day were like, "Dude, what the fuck?" My
So
Google
they're sitting
worked.
home listening to the radio and they're like,
And it'll pick it up. It'll totally pick it up. Someone, I guarantee you, someone, if you're listening, like out loud, your Google probably picked up the thing there.
Hey Google, play Oilers Nation every day.
Hey, that's a good one. At the end of this podcast. Rick, cold performer of the week.
well, I know everyone is putting this blame on whoever else, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to look with a bit of a weird eye at the people who wanted Pete to be kept in this league because he's a joke and they could take advantage of him. This is a double agent. I said it before. He was in Edmonton to try and take us down from the inside, and now he's in St. Louis, and he's still trying to affect us.
Mm-hmm.
This is to everyone who thought it'd be hilarious to keep Chiarelli in the league because he's an idiot. He's a double agent. He's out to get us. He needs to get out of the league right now.
That's a joke. That's an absolute joke is what it is.
My cold performer of the week. I tweeted about this yesterday, and it actually got like somewhat decent traction, so I'm going to say it again here. Nothing is pissing me off more than these days. Rick, you interact with it. Drive-through menus that are just changing.
Yeah, it flips way too fast.
And there are certain spots who are way worse for it than others. Shout out to A&W. They are fantastic at it. But like, and someone was like, "Why are you going to places with drive-thrus if you don't know the menu?" I don't frequent drive-thrus all that often. I pulled up to a spot yesterday. I wanted a coffee and I wanted a quick little snack. And I had to sit there for like 30 seconds waiting for the menus to keep changing. So it felt like I was doing a challenge on Big Brother. I was like, okay, that was down there last time, but now it's up there. And sometimes it doesn't even feel like they're cycling in meaningful stuff. It's like ads about new products.
And
Just-
show me what's new. Let me see what kind of new burger there is.
Oh, it's so annoying. The new drive-thrus are just pissing me off. That's such an old man rant, but it's wildly annoying to pull up to a drive-thru and have the screens be changing every 8 bleeping seconds. So, Dan's back.
Did you go for a wee? Could have gone anywhere.
All right, flipping the ledger. Flipping the ledger and getting to our hot performers of the week. Rick, you can go first. What do you got?
outside the whole obvious, the fact that the Edmonton Elks have a new owner, that hopefully this brings some stability behind it. We can start moving forward. I know he is talking about improving or building even a new stadium. I'm cool with either one. And the fact they just won 2 in a row. We're looking for 3 in a row this week. Calgary lost last night. We can get ourselves in the playoffs. Let's go.
It's getting hot in here. So hot.
Lehman.
I'm going to say my hot performer of the week, and this one came to me this morning when I turned on the radio. Very random, but Keith Urban for his contributions to country music. That guy has hit after hit after hit, and it just came on the radio, so I was like, God damn, this guy has some tunes.
He's a hot guy.
He is a hot guy.
Have you listened to Post Malone's country album?
Is Keith Urban on it?
I think he is, actually, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll give it a listen. It was on yesterday. Post Malone.
Like, so...
The dude's very talented. When he first came out, you looked at him like someone who's not listening. You look at him, you're like, okay, he'll be like some sort of hardcore rapper type of thing.
And he did do a couple of rap albums.
He did. And then he started singing, like, singing. Now he's getting into country, and he covers, like, everything. I'm like, man, this guy's good.
These are the features. No Keith Urban, but Tim McGraw, Hank Williams Jr., Morgan Wallen, Blake Shelton, Dolly Parton, Brad Paisley, Luke Combs, Lainey Wilson, Jelly Roll, and Luke Combs again, and Chris Stapleton. It's legit. Post Malone's country album. That is
Hank Williams Jr., also known as... Anyone know? Who? The yodeling kid. The Walmart yodeling kid.
Different Hank Williams Jr., more famous.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah,
Hank Williams Jr. is...
You're talking about the kid in the cowboy boots
isn't
from
that,
10 years ago?
His name's also Hank Williams, and he does do country music.
God damn. Maybe
Hank
it's the
Williams
same
Jr.'s
one.
been doing
It is
for a
not.
while.
Yeah, no, we're talking the guy who got kicked off Monday Night Football or what?
75.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a song on one of the football broadcasts.
Are you
they
ready
took off.
for some football?
Yeah, Monday perhaps. Sunday.
A Monday night party.
Okay, Monday.
Dan, hot performer of the week.
Shout out to you guys for covering for me there. I am drinking too much water for this marathon, and I just about had an accident.
That's how they get you.
Hot performer of the week is going to go out to the St. Louis Blues, which I know is weird to do for an Oilers podcast, but it's twofold. First of all, selfishly for the business side of things, they've made this week crazy and hectic for us where we were just going to normally be kind of going through the motions. So we've got some content there. But then the second thing is they donated $10,000 to Kyle Brodziak's brother and nephew, who unfortunately just had an accident, I think it was 4 or 5 days ago, Liam.
Yeah,
in Sherwood Park. So they donated $10,000 to the GoFundMe, and then, of course, the GoFundMe's exploded since then. So St. Louis Blues for creating some summer content and then also donating some money and doing some good for the Brodziak family. You get my hot performer of the week.
Pour it on!
We're pouring it on. My hot performer of the week is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Since the All-Star break, Vladdy is batting .457 with an on-base percentage of .523. He's got 11 bombs, 25 RBIs, and an OPS of 1480. A good OPS is in like the 800 to 900s. A superstar level OPS is 1,000. If you're at like 1,200 for a whole season, you'll win MVP by a landslide usually. 1480 over the last.
With a terrible start 2 months.
With a terrible first 2 months. Like his run since the All-Star break is unbelievable. There's exactly one reason to watch Blue Jays baseball right now, and it's Vladdy.
No, there's some of the youth, some of the kids that are fun to watch.
Yeah, Will Wagner's good, but shout out to Vladdy.
The big guy is smoking hot.
Chargers up and down.
Yeah, he's starting to.
Yeah, he's starting to heat up a little bit. Anyways, there you go, boys. That is a wrap on our Hot and Cold Performance brought to you by the Oilers Nation Open. Any closing thoughts as we wrap this thing up?
Did you guys hear about this Utah Jazz thing where the player was like groomed? Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle.
That just showed up on my feed.
Oh, yeah, he was like a draft pick this year, right?
Yeah.
Did it? What came?
2 years older than him. And
So he played at Duke or Kentucky for a really long time, and then his girlfriend.
Might be his cousin?
Oh, she's way older than him. They've been dating since he was like 17. They've known each other since he was like 14. She like groomed him and pulled him into some. I think she's Mormon, but don't quote me on that. And then he ended up, instead of going like in the early 20s of the draft, he fell to 32, went to Utah. But he's like sent his family a letter a couple years ago, being like, "I will no longer be in contact with any of you. Like this is my new life with the religion." It's a crazy story.
Wow. Yeah, I just came up on my feed last week. I had no idea.
Pretty weird. Liam, any closing thoughts heading into the weekend?
Go Elks, go. Oh, Bolton play Wrexham on Sunday.
Wander up.
Wander up. That's their motto.
oh yeah, that starts this week, doesn't it? EPL starts this week.
It started last week. EPL starts today. It's a different thing.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. Be back next Friday.